Hello, my name is Tim Drexler and welcome to another episode of Future Talk. Today I'll be talking with Letitia Gould, who's an optician here in Valdosta, Georgia. We'll be discussing the Opticianry Program here at Wiregrass Georgia Technical College.
The Opticianry degree and diploma programs prepare students for employment in a variety of positions in today's opticianry field. A licensed dispensing optician can best be described as a visual pharmacist who fills the written prescription orders of ophthalmologists and optometrists. The Opticianry program teaches students how to fabricate prescription lenses from semi-finished lens blanks to be inserted into fashionable eyewear worn by the patient. Adjusting and fitting eyewear, as well as frame selection and dispensing, are also part of the curriculum. The Opticianry program provides learning opportunities which introduce, develop, and reinforce academic and occupational knowledge, skills, and attitudes required for job acquisition, retention, and advancement. Additionally, the program provides opportunities to upgrade present knowledge and skills or to retrain in the area of opticianry management. Graduates of the program receive an opticianry degree.
Hello, Letitia, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Today, I guess what we want to start off talking about is, if you would, just give me a little bit about your employment history, not history, but how you became employed and what you do, what type of education you went through, and how long you've been doing the job.
Okay, so I've been an optician for 20 years, a little over 20 years now. Okay. Initially, I came into the profession just because I was looking for a job, and I started out as a receptionist for a company in Colorado Springs. And I didn't have any education at the time. I'd done some college, but I had not obtained a degree of any sort, and didn't know much about the industry at all to begin with. And it just seemed interesting. It really, captured my interest, and I went from being a receptionist to learning what they do on the retail sales floor and learning how to be an optician, and then later coming into getting certified.
Okay. Did you earn your certification through school, or was it like a secondary test that you took after?
So I didn't earn mine through school. I moved to Georgia, which is a licensed state, and in order for me to actually get the pay for the experience that I had, I needed to go through the certification and the licensing. Okay. So initially, I just started out with a book and some knowledge from just experience, and I went and sat for the first exam.
Now you said Georgia's a licensed state. Does that mean that there are certain states that aren't?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
When I was working in Colorado Springs, it wasn't a licensed state, right. So no one ever encouraged me to seek licensure or even to seek certification.
So when students go through the program, they need to make sure whatever state they want to go to, they need to check that.
Going through the program, they should go ahead and do certification no matter what. No matter what state they're going into, to be a certified optician, even in a non-licensed state, still gives you the professional distinction that you need.
Okay, all right, excellent. How does one apply for a job in this field? Are there any specific, well, we talked about certifications and licenses, but are there anything else that they need when they apply for a job?
When they're just applying for the job? No,
yeah.
I think the biggest thing that they could have, if they don't already have prior work experience, would be just, they've got to like people. They've got to be able to sit down and be able to just talk to the person that's sitting across from them. That's going to give a lot of information to whoever that is that's doing the interview as to how they are as a person. That's huge in this industry. Okay.
When you first started, especially coming out of school, can you tell me any of the challenges that you had to overcome professionally to get started in the field?
I think the biggest thing that I had to overcome was the intimacy of the exchange between the patient and myself. It is very private, so you're speaking to someone very direct, and you've got to be comfortable doing something like that. It's not the same exchange as someone that is quickly going by. You're spending a considerable amount of time with someone that's spending a considerable amount of money with you, and they are completely entrusting you to tell them everything that they need to know about these pair of glasses. So I had to get comfortable with that exchange. That was difficult for me initially.
Okay. Yeah, I always, whenever I get my glasses, I'm always like, okay, y'all gonna have to be honest with me. Do they look good or not? So,
exactly.
I don't want to look like Harry Potter. You know, I like the story, but I don't want to look like him. Yeah. Salary expectations. What should they expect when they get out of school and get into the industry, and then 10 years down the road?
So the salary expectations can probably differ depending upon where they're going, what if they're going to go private or if they're going to go corporate retail. But for a licensed state, most licensed opticians are going to start somewhere around upwards of $15, $16 an hour. That's usually just for someone that has probably no experience whatsoever, just the certifications and the licensure. 10 years down the road, I mean, depending on how much they really put the work in, sure, they could be doing really well, upwards of $25, $30 an hour, just depending on where they are, what they're doing. But they've definitely got to put the work in. If you get stagnant in the industry, then you might just find yourself just making, just small steps above. But if you really try to seek all of the different career, then there's several different areas you could go into, then you could certainly see yourself making a lot more.
Do you get to go to conventions or whatnot to learn about new techniques in the industry?
Absolutely. Now, most of the time, depending upon where you work, that may not necessarily be something that's paid for, but it's certainly encouraged. I'm always online to see who has something else, who's going to be doing some goodness, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Who would actually be doing any continuing education so that you can learn what's new in the industry, because sometimes you get kind of sheltered in what you're doing and you don't even know some of the other things that may be coming out. So while there's different literature you can pick up, there's nothing like that hands-on experience of being able to see how some of these other things may work, and to see if it's something you can incorporate into what you're doing, or at least be able to encourage someone that could benefit from that technology.
Are there, because you have the optician certification for the states that you have to get, correct?
Yes.
Are there any other certifications or licenses that you have to get above that to go up?
Not that you have to. Now, I know that for there's two certifications that you would get prior to becoming licensed. There's the ABO, which is the Opticianry certification, and then there's the NCLE, which is the contact lens certification. So once you've taken both of those exams, you're now ready to sit for a board in whatever state that you're in. Most states do use those two as a prerequisite for licensure. So once you've actually become ready to sit for that board, you can do whatever exam they have for that state. It could be a practical exam, it could be a hands-on exam, whatever those two things, whatever that is you sit for. And once you have achieved that, anything else that you do would probably just be something that you're going to be doing just to give you, just to help you with what you're going to be doing later on in the field. It's not necessarily a requirement, but it can't hurt. That's for certain.
And it could have monetary.
Absolutely.
Like you could get a raise.
I'm sure you could.
Okay. Now you said something that's interesting.
Yes.
Because I imagine this is something that's hard to describe. Sit for a board.
Yes.
What's that like?
Well, now Georgia recently changed theirs, so I know that right now it's a little different than when I went. But when I went to take my exam, we had both the written, and then we also had the practical exam where you actually had to read 3 pairs of glasses. So that was challenging. When I got to the exam, the equipment that they used was much older than the technology I'd learned on. So it took me a minute just to even get that down. So it's interesting. The technology does evolve, and so when it does evolve, certain things stay the same, some things do change. So sitting for that board in particular, it was a little challenging for me, but I got through it. So thank goodness.
Yeah, when you usually when you get your master's degree, or you have to, when you graduate, you have to sit before a board or panel.
An actual panel? No.
So there's nothing like that.
No, not a panel.
A bunch of people smoking cigarettes and eyeing you down. Okay, all right, good.
No, thank goodness.
All right, like a death squad or something.
Yeah.
All right, something that you would like to tell students that they may not get in the classroom that is in the field, that it's like something that caught you off guard that you didn't expect.
I think one of the biggest things was probably the one thing that I talked about how the exchange between you and the customer, just being open to personality types, because there's all different types and you don't know, who you're going to be sitting across from. Being the kind of person that's observant, you need to be detail oriented. You need to actually be able to see the person that's sitting in front of you and not already have something in your mind that you're already planning to do, because everybody's so different.
Right.
And you really want to make sure that whomever you're assisting, that you're giving them a customized experience just for them.
Right.
And they need to feel that. So you've got to figure out what it is in you that you need to fix or adjust so that you can do that, and do that in a way that leaves someone feeling as though they just received great service.
And it's tough, because I mean, when you're working with the public,
yes,
you're going to get the good,
yes,
but you're going to get the bad
yes,
as well.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. You got to let some of that stuff just kind of wash over.
You have to let it roll off, that's for sure.
A typical work day.
Typical work day. So typically for me, I start off in the morning looking at prior day sales and figuring out what we're going to do for the day. Patients start coming in usually around 9, and once they start coming in, you never know what's going to happen. The phones are ringing. You do answer phones. You're going to be, dispensing jobs that have already been made. You're going to be assisting people on the floor, so you do have to multitask. You never know what's walking through the door. You don't know the problem that you're going to have. If there is a doctor on site, you do have issues that are coming in as well that are more medical related, and you have to be attentive to that as well. So you do wear a lot of hats in this industry. It's not just one thing that you're doing. You are doing different things at the same time. So as long as you're ready for the challenge, it could really be, something really great.
Okay. So just be prepared for multitasking.
Absolutely.
Quite a bit. Okay.
Absolutely.
How much interaction do you have with the doctors that are in the back?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah,
okay.
You're going to interact with the doctor a lot, simply because sometimes there are very specific things that the doctor wants, or that the doctor feels is going to help, and you certainly want to be able to make sure that you're doing everything that the doctor wants you to do.
Okay.
So yeah, you do work with the doctor quite closely.
Okay. All right. Workplace hazards that you may encounter.
As an optician, probably one of the biggest ones, if you're not in a lab, if you're just talking sales floor, roll-away chairs. You have to be very careful.
Yeah. Sit
Chairs
down.
get away from you.
Yeah.
They do. They slip out from under you. So that's one. Screwdrivers is probably the biggest one, because we're constantly actually tightening screws, and they slip, and they can easily puncture your finger. So you have to be careful. And when you're clipping screws, you need to be careful about those pieces that are popping to make sure that your eyes are protected. If you're in a lab, if you are doing lab work as well, then there's certainly other machinery that's involved. The edger. I know that some of the newer edgers have almost everything contained, but I would imagine there's still some degree of hazard there that you'd probably need to wear safety eyewear for and such.
Do you guys ever, I don't think I've ever seen anything do this, but I wanted to ask, you don't physically put the contact inside somebody's eye, do you? Or they do that anymore?
You can. It all depends on where you work. Some places the doctor would do that for you, and you would just assist the patient in learning how to take it out themselves. But in some, they do prefer that the optician actually goes in and inserts those, but it's probably going to depend on your state as to whether or not you're able to do that.
Do they still do the hard contact lenses? They still have those?
There's still people that wear them,
See, I knew someone who used to take it out and stick it in their mouth and roll it around.
It's a terrible thing to do. Don't.
Oh no. Well, I had to stop using contacts because my computer use they dried out way too quick. So and so I got the no glare on these, and
absolutely,
it helps a lot.
It does. It definitely does.
We've actually gone through most of the questions here. The last one here is in 15 years, where do you see? Is there any changes that you see, or anything that you would tell students that they need to prepare for that may change the industry?
I don't think so, because I believe that as technology continues to evolve, I do believe we'll probably see better lens quality. I'm sure there'll be other coatings that will come out that will make glasses work, a glasses experience even better. But as far as the industry, as far as opticians are concerned, I don't believe we're going anywhere. I know that there's a lot of buzz about everything, being on the web and people having the ability to order glasses without actually having to go into a dispensary. But I find every single day that someone's coming into me with glasses that they've ordered online that have some issue that no one else can figure out but the optician. So sometimes trying to take out that middle person doesn't work as well as everyone expects. So I don't think we're going to be going anywhere.
So you don't think like LASIK surgery will kill glasses.
No,
and-
LASIK surgery's been around for some time.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't believe that it would, and not everybody's a good candidate even
Yeah.
for LASIK surgery. So, unless you got everybody that's just on board for it, or maybe if everyone wasn't having to pay for it, then it might be a little different. But it's expensive, and
Yeah.
so some people choose to just continue with the
Right.
glasses.
It's always going to need glasses and contacts.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. At this point, what we want to do is see if any of the students have any questions for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up and bring my microphone over to them and see if they have any questions.
Okay.
So do any of y'all have any questions?
Yes. What would be the difference in working in a retail store as opposed to a private practice?
So working in corporate retail, you tend to have everything kind of already planned for you. Everything about how you're going to interact with the employees and such, that's all pretty much, designed by the corporate office. And in private practice, it's usually just the doctor that's over you, and maybe a manager. And the dispensary is usually a bit smaller, so you don't have as many other sister locations. The business is still the same. You may be doing higher end materials than corporate. Frame inventory is probably going to be higher end than what some of the corporate places are going to have.
Okay.
How much CE classes is required in Georgia after you get your license?
Continuing education. So you have to have 10 hours of continuing education every 2 years, and you can get that on your own. You do have to get that on your own. You can use different societies have continuing education courses. You just need to register for one and sit for the hours. Usually they have it over a 2-day span, because you can only get 8 hours a day, I believe, in Georgia. So you would sit for over a 2-day course and receive classes.
Can Georgia opticians work in Florida?
Not licensed, no, absolutely not. If you were going to go to Florida to work as an optician, you would have to go through the Florida board and sit for their board exam, or you'd have to work under a Florida optician.
Well, Letitia, thank you very much for doing this. Excellent information. If any students have any questions about the Opticianry Program here at Wiregrass, if you can say it properly like I can, just email Lisa Griffin at lisa.griffin@wiregrass.edu. She's the instructor that's in charge of Opticianry Program. And as always, if you wish to learn more about admissions, just contact the school here at Wiregrass Georgia Technical College, and they will get you in as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and thank you guys for listening.